there are seasons for how and when this works the best and most effectively. And you can't keep your eye off. You can't take your eye off the ball in terms of what may change with that particular product, because we know all of these providers always are changing the product. And the challenge always has been, where are we getting leads as real estate agents to be successful and close more deals and ultimately put money in our pocket? That's what we're all here for. And I want to kick it off with, how are we doing that? And it sounds like you just had an epiphany. We were just chatting right before we hit record in terms of, I know you're really good about tracking your numbers, and I know it comes down to that, but give us a little more insight as to how you're actually able to make a definitive answer that pay-per-click is working for you inside of real estate.
Base level, we talked about tracking numbers. So you just want to start to track everything. And so we have something called the CTE. What's the guy's name? He was an old Keller agent. I'll think of him in a second. But anyways, he has so you guys out there want to start tracking your numbers for yourself or your team, the CTE, it's called the Commitment to Excellence. And essentially, Eddie, it's you ever heard of CTE? Or no,
is that something we can link below? Or
yeah, we could pop it in there. It's pretty super affordable, man. It's basically a spreadsheet that he's like doctored up with everything from, you can get hyper granular with it, like so many things, we try to use it to its fullest. But anyways, my point is, we're able to look at lead sources, right? So the CTE, we go over our numbers for our KPIs, the key performance indicators, just to kind of like talk to the audience a little bit about, so the agents, how many calls are being made, how many appointments are being set, how many conversations, buyers, brokers, how many are being signed. We go over those every single Monday in the team meeting. We show the whole room, so it's like you can't hide.
Now, is this best? I'm sorry. Is this best for the CTE? Is it best for an individual agent or a team, or both?
Both. Yeah. It probably wouldn't be you just got to learn it, but, and put the numbers in and be diligent with that. If you have a transaction coordinator like we do, they put all those numbers in. So when the closings happen, what was the lead source? So that's how we can basically track all that. So anyways, coming full circle, just that's the foundation of where we're looking at these numbers that I'm about to go over. So just the quick story is, you find certain lead sources. As a leader, I think you need to constantly, which you are out there right now, you're looking for something, right? And this is what I do. Like, what is going on out there? And we found a lead source through Google. We set up a Google business profile. So for you team leaders out there, or even an individual, you do need an address. You want to set up a Google business profile. We did this right before COVID, Eddie. I was telling this story yesterday. We did this right before COVID. It was actually going back to PPC. We were working with a guy that was really good at PPC. He did like targeted stuff. So they were really good, as good as you could get for a PPC lead. Meaning you had less Donald Ducks and 555-1212, that kind of, stuff. So anyways, he was a great PPC guy, but we didn't have a culture of prospecting. So which I'm going to get into here in a second with our PPC. If you don't have a culture of prospecting, nothing's going to work. Let's put it that way. Like Zillow will barely work. Get into the challenges that we're having with Zillow.
So what you're saying is before you even invest in PPC, Zillow, any lead generation system, process, people, whatever it might be, you must have that culture of prospecting first. And before we, if you don't mind, what does that mean?
I love that. So if it's just you are the culture. And do you prospect every day? Simple foundation. So if you are a single agent, are you in a culture of prospectors, or are you in an office where People are just around the water cooler and talking, and not, dedicating a couple hours a day to prospecting. That's
Okay. All right. So the habit of.
Now there's filling that out. We do role play, because it's like you can prospect for hours and hours and hours, but if your skills aren't good, you're going to get less results. As your skills go up, actually your time invested on the phone will go down, right? They kind of act in an inverse relationship. So anyways, that's what I mean. Does that kind of help with the
Okay. So I mean, there's a lot to drill down inside of those habits and creating those habits. But what you're saying is essentially, Alex, I'm coming to your team to join you, and I am committed to being prospecting from 8 a.m. to noon, or whatever it is that we decide. Or I have, better yet, I've already been doing it, so it's already a habit, and I'm already doing it. It might not be the best way, or my tactics, or the way I go about it, or the language I use in conversation with a potential prospect might not be ideal, but at least I've got the framework of, I know and I value that I have to sit down at this time, at this day, to do the thing. And so then go ahead and pick up, I think, where you were, which is, I buy into that, I'm signed up, now what do I do? And now you're going into the kind of the pay-per-click conversation.
Yeah, so the pay-per-click, back to the thanks for that. And that's the groundwork. And we do other stuff, just for the record. Every Wednesday we get together, either 10 to 12, or 6 to 8. We do call night, phone jam, then we eat together. Right after this, I've mentioned I go and I prospect with it, and like that's a culture of prospecting. Yeah. We get all these kinds of role play every single day. Like this is the culture, right? So the person steps into this. Back to the PPC conversation, kind of going back, we got off of PPC because we found something better that made the phone ring, and they were like hot. But this was also, so we got onto that Google Business Profile and the Google Local Service before anybody knew about it. So it was open blue ocean. I don't know if anybody ever heard that term out there. There's blue ocean, where it's like there's no sharks in it, there's no blood. Red ocean, you don't want to be in the red ocean because there's a lot of sharks, and all the minnows or whatever been eaten up. That's the concept. So anyways, it was blue ocean A, and then COVID hit. So there's people behind their screens. I want to buy real estate. I want to get out of this state or whatever, and I want to get to Florida, whatever. And we were like one of the only ones there. So it just was like this confluence of these two things came together, and it was just blew up. And I remember thinking to myself, Eddie, I found it. This is it. We're done. Like, I could just lead on this lead source for the rest of my life. This is the best thing ever. What happens? Lopo gets a hold of it, other people get a hold of it, influencers get a hold of it, they're teaching courses, the market starts to get a little saturated, and then, the market kind of goes down, and the robo-dialers figured it out, so now our people get hammered with these anyways, it's still good, we still get some good stuff. My point is you got to be constantly as a leader, and if you don't have an organization, you are the leader of you, and we're always still the leader of us. We started looking for other things. That's why we went to Zillow. It's actually why I went back to Zillow. So it's like, I want to make the phone ring. We still have prospectors. That's good. So we've created that culture. But I still want to make the phone ring for them to kind of supplement a little bit. Looking at the numbers, we're basically broke even after a year on Zillow because we're able to track the numbers. It's not like, I wonder if this is working. It's like, you don't want to be wondering. You got to have some empirical information that you're making decisions on when it comes to business, in my opinion. So anyways, I'm like, man, we got to kind of figure this out. So which stupidly, Eddie, in a way, I was like, what's our PPC? Like, we started looking at our PPC, and I'm like, getting like a 2.5% conversion ratio lead to close over a 5-year period. Because some of these leads go, here's the deal. It's not, well, I'm going to get 100 leads and I'm going to close 2.5 in 90 days. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you got to track it over time. What we found was we were getting a 2.5% conversion ratio. And I ran some quick kind of monkey math here, man. We're paying about $12 a lead for PPC. And so if you just take 100 leads, right, and you're at $12 a lead, there's $1,200, right? Our average sale price is around 375, and again, I'm doing some real quick guerrilla math here. At 375, 2.5% commission, you're looking at about a gross of about $11,000 GCI, right? Now, I split that with the team. We're on a 50-50 for everything. Well, at least 50-50. So that takes me to around $5,500 for that closing. Now, if I'm getting 2.5 closings, that puts me at around $13,000 net GCI to the team. And if I spent 1,200, there's, an 11 times return. Rough.
Yeah.
You could just say 10. So the name of the game in business, I would say, or in marketing is, you want to find a machine that you can put $1 into and $3 come out the other side. And then the name of the game is back up a dump truck and start dumping in as many dollars as you can at scale. Meaning, I have another buddy that I had this conversation with that I was in business with ways back, and we're still friends. And he's just a PPC guy. All he does is PPC himself. But he's the bottleneck. He can't scale it, right? He's going to like, I'm going to buy, hundreds and hundreds of leads, but he can't handle them. So
what is the how well do you think you guys convert? How much room for improvement is there in the way you guys have conversations, follow up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? A real honest question. Do you feel like you guys have it locked in? Do you think that there's more juice to be squeezed inside that to improve that? Obviously, there's always room for improvement, or do you feel like this is all things considered, and the people that come in and out of your organization and the people that come in and out and answer the phone and handle conversations over that same broad term as a business owner, as a brokerage owner, as a team leader, rather, how is it? Where are you in that range? Is this a very attainable result for most that have a team? And how long would you think it would take for a team to get organized in that fashion to see a similar result? Obviously, we're not promising anything because we're not selling anything. But I mean, just to give some insight, This took you X amount of years, and X amount of people are doing it with me, and this is the result we're getting.
Very. I feel like there's a couple different questions in there.
Yeah, feel free to bite into whatever one.
Start with. The one that comes to the top of my mind, I believe, is the first one. Where are we at? Man, it's Toyota. So it's never-ending pursuit of excellence. So there's always room. One of the things, I'm not going to mention it because it's kind of near and dear to me right now, but we did find another platform that overlays with Sierra, the CRM we use. And it acts, it sends out 2 pieces of marketing every month, every other week. And it actually is a it's seller centric. But so there's buyers that came in as PPC that actually are sellers. So I'm just kind of using that as an example of like, how do you squeeze, you mentioned like, how do you squeeze a little bit more out of that lemon, right? So there are programs that you can get that nurture that database like you're asking the agents to nurture it as well. And I don't think there's any real substitute for phone calls. And that's why that you go back to the, culture of prospecting. So how long would it take? I feel like that was kind of the second-ish question. There's a lot of factors, right? I would say let's just say you were the single agent, so not the team. If you're a single agent and you have no skills, let's go there. So let's go no skills and let's go higher level. Been in it for a couple of years and closed, double-digit properties type thing. That new agent, I think it's going to take you coming to a role play or whatever, or role playing with somebody, uh, probably 3 to 4 months, Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, at least a half an hour, which really is more like 10 to 15 minutes of role play. We've brought agents on the team that have now been on the team for a year and a half that had closed one deal. And now this particular agent is closing like 1.6. She's averaging now a month. And she started that. It took her about 4 months in role play because she was scared of the phone. I mean, this is somebody who was like that level, just, petrified, not petrified, but just like, what to say. And in about 3 or 4 months, she was pretty proficient. So you could put yourself in her shoes. Now, how long is it going to take you? Well, I don't know if you're going to do what the guidance is to do. How much are you going to really invest in yourself?
And she was focused. And she was focused specifically on this prospecting.
She's focused on prospecting. So we've got the pond. We send PPC leads. She's on Zillow now. So she's getting different kinds of opportunities.
Okay, and then it's just been on her to get better at sharpening her tools and having these conversations.
Yep.
So,
yep.
If we pull this out a little bit, pay-per-click is working based on the quality of the prospecting that's in and around it, meaning your ability to follow up as an agent on these leads, whether they're all coming to you because you're an independent agent or because you're part of a team. And certainly there's probably a little bit more of a feeling of obligation to nurture these a little bit better, right? Because someone's raining them down on you. At least, I would think so.
You would think.
You would think. Yeah, you would think.
You would think.
They're basically given to you. But the return from your perspective as a team leader and someone who's actually writing the check to make these things happen is there. And there's room for improvement, but also it's working. And to tie this all back to the beginning, which is there are seasons for how and when this works the best and most effectively. And you can't keep your eye off. You can't take your eye off the ball in terms of what may change with that particular product, because we know all of these providers always are changing the product, and also what resonates and what works with the actual success of that lead generation system.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, man, because I look back and it's like probably with COVID, if we had been a culture of prospecting during COVID, we probably could have just gone into PPC, like dove into PPC hard. If you have a culture of prospecting, if you are a prospector and there's a wave, like COVID was a wave of people wanting to buy, I believe the conversion ratio would have been higher, but I can't, because we didn't really do it. I didn't measure it back then either. I mean, not that I didn't measure it. We weren't doing the PPC. We kind of dumped the PPC for this other thing. My point is, the root of this whole thing is prospecting. So we're talking about conversion ratios of different types of leads in there and so forth. But if you don't have the root, you don't have the foundation, rather, it's all a moot point.